rock gods. Everyone wants to be one. But even if you're born with talent, it's 1 in a million. Unless your name is Norman Polchik. Where I come from, unless you've been living in a sewer the last couple months, you know this guy. Even my dad's heard of Norman Polchik, and the last new album he bought was on cassette. Yep, that's Norman. He may look like your one weird uncle the rest of the family doesn't talk to anymore, but judging by his profile, the dude must get more pelt than a fur trapper. Just weeks ago, Norman Polchik was a warehouse supervisor, and now he's supposedly getting offers from all the big labels: rock, hip-hop, country. I even heard the head of some jazz label wants him to do a virtual duet with some dead guy from the 50s. A literal overnight sensation, every musician's dream, but Norman turned all of them down. Huh? I know I can't be the only one out there wondering. Funny thing is, I actually saw this guy a few years ago at an open mic night. He went up on stage all sweaty and shaking with one of those cheesy keytar things and proceeded to suck. Bad. Norman actually started crying and stormed off stage. I felt bad for him at the time. Not bad enough to actually clap, but still. So, what had changed since then? I tried to find out, but oddly enough, I couldn't find a single one of his songs anywhere. What's the deal?
I've always had this thing with the live experience. CD and MP3, what is that? It's a cheap copy. For me, hey, really, you just can't bottle this magic.
Okay, Norm, I can dig that. Sort of, I guess. So, what's your live show like?
You never heard nothing like Norman P. He drops the nastiest rhymes you ever heard before.
His music is so sweet, and the lyrics are good. Simple.
The musical complexity about him. He's an octopus. He never stops. He's the greatest one in the whole wide world. You will never understand it until you see it.
So much for consensus. I decided I needed to see for myself, so I bought a ticket to Norman's next sold-out show. From a scalper. For $175. With a security check that outshines most airports, my undercover investigation of the Norman show would be difficult. Forget cameras and tape recorders, this guy doesn't even allow cell phones inside.
46!
47!
48!
The stage manager made everybody sound off in a head count, which I thought was weird, but whatever. Finally, Norman Polchik shuffled on stage in leopard skin tights, dragging the same beat-up keytar I'd seen years before. People went nuts. I fully expected him to suck again, but he was actually good. Damn good. In fact, he was about midway through his first song when I realized it was the greatest music I'd ever heard in my life. I stood there grinning like the village idiot, thinking this must have been what it was like when people first saw Jimmy play in London in 1966. I felt a connection with every person in the audience, like we were witnessing something truly special. Looking back, I felt the stirrings of what could only be described as, well, a man crush. I wanted to hang with Norman, buy him a beer. I wanted to be him. I walked out of that show ready to hitchhike to his next gig and follow him around the world if I could. When I got home, however, it was a different story. Remember how I told you nobody could get any recording devices in? Well, I got one in. Just don't ask me how. Seriously. Anyway, the sound quality sucks, and it can only record a few seconds, but I think you'll get the idea.
Oh, baby, baby, hang on tight. Oh, baby, baby, go out all night. 'Cause there's nothing really to run, baby. You know just how to pay my toll. Pay my toll.
Now, I'm no classically trained music theorist or anything, but I have a hard time believing a song like this could cause an avalanche of panties to be thrown on stage. Really, it was like 15 pair. Could this possibly be the same music that had me drooling on myself for 2 hours? Had somebody slipped something in my drink? Then it hit me. No Norman Polchik recordings anywhere. Small venues. Airtight security. A strict admissions cap of 500 people, including crew and staff. 500, huh? Could this be because 501 minds are just too much for Norman to control? I'm sure Norman Polchik wouldn't be the first rock star ever to shoot up, but he just might be the first one who did it with Promicin. Yeah, that Promicin. Some people it kills, some people get extra human abilities, and others it causes to shell out half their rent money to hear some middle-aged doofus screech like a baboon. At any rate, Norman Polchik, I think you owe us saps an explanation.